All right, we'll go ahead and call today's Greensboro Minimum Housing Standards Commission meeting to order at 1:43 p.m. First order of business is the approval of minutes from the meeting of October 15th. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes as is.
Second.
That has been motioned and properly second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimous.
Who seconded?
The next order of business is the approval of the minutes for annual training on October 8th. Do we have a motion? Anyone?
This is a motion. Someone make a motion on the approval of minutes for the training session.
I motion that we approve the minutes from the training session.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. That is properly second. Yeah, Commissioner McCaster did the second.
Thank you.
We'll call it. Too tired. All in favor? Call the vote. Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. All any opposed? Yeah, my ear. Any opposed? That does pass unanimously. Moving on to the next order of business, request for staff for any changes to today's agenda.
So with the agenda, two things. One is at some point, if we would like to, I put the 2026 meeting dates on, they're not in the binders, they're just kind of laid next to your binders. At some point we need to vote on those. And then items 7 and 8, they were both from the same apartment complex. Those two properties are now in compliance. We can have a discussion about those if you want. But as far as like, there's no information in your binders about those two apartments because the cases are closed. But it does involve the Village Walk apartments. And I know that there's been interest in that, and so we can discuss that if you would like.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next order of business, swearing in city staff to testify.
Okay, left hand on the Bible, raise your right. Do each of you swear or affirm the testimony given the following matters to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please proceed.
And the next order of business is swearing in any owners, citizens, or others for testimony. Are there anyone present on any of the properties on the agenda for the day? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next order of business, which is the public comment period. The Housing Commission is quasi-judicial board, therefore speakers may only address in general the minimum housing standards or affordable housing in Greensboro. Speakers may not address any property that is currently under investigation or may be under investigation. Speakers who attempt to discuss a specific property other than as allowed above will be asked to end their comments. Each speaker is given 3 minutes each. Staff will provide the speaker with a 10-second warning before the time expires and the mic will be turned off. Are there any present for the public comment period? All right, seeing none, as a commission with the first two items that are in compliance with the Village Walk Apartments, are there any questions we have as a commission for city staff? I'll open it up to the commission.
Yes, so I have a couple of questions about the Village Walk Apartments. I guess in the calendar year, if there's a certain amount of complaints or issues that code compliance has to come out and just consistently inspect, I guess, the minimum housing standards for this apartment complex. How does that reflect with the city? Is there like just an ongoing inspection? Is there, I guess, how do we identify the bad actors who are consistently coming before the commission? Is there I don't know how to phrase the question, but I guess what's the tracking mechanism so that we just don't, or we can be ahead of these problems before they just keep on coming and then they say they fix the issues, but they're just putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm, I guess.
So I have an answer. I don't know if it's specifically to your specific question. In regards to the Village Walk Apartments, we received a complaint. It was actually I think a post with an individual. It was a photo of a rat. And so we had two of our inspectors. One of them is here today, John. And they went and put door hangers at every apartment unit at every building of Village Walk Apartments. And we did receive a number of complaints. I don't have an exact figure for you, but John has done multiple inspections out there. The two cases that were on the agenda, at the time when the agenda was prepared, they were open cases and there were violations. They came into compliance between the time the agenda was prepared and today's meeting. He also has been working with the property manager over there, and many of the open cases that we had have been resolved, and there are, I believe, just a handful. I think there's three open cases as of November 13th. That he's still working with the property management there to resolve. But we did, like I said, make visits out there. We didn't inspect all the units because the tenant has to allow us in. But they did go and leave door hangers at every single apartment unit at that complex.
Can I add to that? Ultimately, we're bound by our process. So whether the complex has one case or 25 cases, ultimately we're bound by our process. We don't treat the owner any different than we would in another firm. Unfortunately, that's the process that we're bound by.
So, I guess just hearing this, right? So at least 5 to 7 cases are closed/open. 2 of them are open now, but if there's a continuous abuse of minimum housing standards, that we see the pattern, like, you going out there or, City of Greensboro code compliance is consistently at this apartment complex. That's an issue. If you're there multiple times, this is a pattern. This isn't just some, you know what I mean? Like, I guess I'm trying to say, like, if they're bad actors on a consistent basis, what else can we do? Meaning, our commission, as well as the City of Greensboro code compliance, to kind of make sure that we curtail case after case after case at said apartment complex, wherever that may be.
So ultimately, fines from us and condemnation. That's why we bring it before y'all. If it needs to be condemned, y'all condemn it.
If I may just layer one thing on top of what Mr. Kimmett said a moment ago. There is very narrow allowance under state law for periodic inspection of residential dwellings. So obviously I can connect with staff to get some more fact specific on any given property. But just would kind of echo what Justin said a minute ago.
To that end, how does a vermin problem go, or infestation as it appears to be based on some statements made by tenants in the past there, how does that go from, in such a space of time, to being in compliance from not? I'm at a loss. Could you unpack that to some degree? Because having myself seen what vermin can do, how they reproduce, how often they reproduce, what that looks like in a space that's already in a deplorable state as is, Could you talk about that briefly?
As far as the infestation goes,
Yes.
so there's two factors that play here as far as this particular case goes. I believe, I don't want to speak for John, I believe this also had an issue with the tenant who has animals. There was food left out for these animals, which attracted the rodents. I believe John's had that discussion with her about cleaning up the pet food and stuff like that. And from what I understand, since October, she has not seen any rodents. So the apartment came in, filled any gaps that were in the apartment to prevent them from coming in. The tenant did what they were supposed to do as far as cleaning their apartment and ridding it of the food. And from what we understand, there have been no rodents since.
So, go ahead, Mr. Phillips. Sorry, but you go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, sir, please.
So putting door hangers is taking a proactive step to say, if you've got a problem, call the city. Is the inspector allowed to go a step further and knock on a door and have a conversation with a tenant?
Commissioner, I've not had a chance to explore it with staff. Let me think through that and discuss with them a little bit further.
But you see why I'm asking. It's, you know, while a door hanger is good, I'm glad we do that, it's kind of a passive way of soliciting communications where if they're allowed to, and I know it would be more time consuming, but you're talking about the kind of a place that's got, you know, if we've got rats in 6 apartments, we got rats in other apartments, right? So it just seems to me it would be a heck of a lot more effective if we had a person standing there saying, if you have an issue, this is who you call.
I think it was just because of the number. I mean, when you're dealing with that many number of apartments, I don't know an exact figure on that. It was just the first step in taking the effort. We knew there were issues out there. If a tenant wanted an inspection, because ultimately we need their permission to enter their unit, it was just a first step in getting there. You know, obviously in an ideal world, we want to knock and talk to every single person and verify that they don't want an inspection, but just to try to expedite things, that was the quickest way to accomplish that goal.
I see that. But obviously, probably 2/3 or more of the people, no one would be home because most people are out working during the day. But so I just think to his point, if you've got one location, no matter how many units it has, that is, as we say, a repeat offender, or you know you've got a lot of problems, it seems to me it would be time efficient to focus attention on that complex, even if it does take away from going to other sites that you would be seeing during the day. You might get more bang for your buck if we drill down deeper in those apartments.
Yeah, and again, Commissioner Furlow, I'd just say, I haven't had any chance to discuss from a practice standpoint with staff on it, but I'm not seeing a risk in that approach.
You're seeing a risk.
No, not.
You're not seeing a risk. Thank you.
I think both commissioners make great points. Refresh my memory, city staff, when it comes to multifamily unit dwellings, do they have a different set of ordinances that they have to meet to be in violation versus single-family homes, or is it the same criteria?
Same criteria.
So if it's the same criteria, and there are several instances across the city of having violations, and we can get into the weeds of the major and the minor. if they have the same criteria as a single-family home, can city staff tell us as a commission how many that are active cases are multi-family units, not single-family apartment dwellings? How many of, because I believe, 200-something active cases? Of the 200-something plus active cases, how many are apartment dwellings? If they have the same criteria to be in violation as a single family, we should have definitely a whole bunch on that document or that agenda of cases that should be apartment dwellings. So how many do we have that are apartments that are not single family?
I mean, I don't have those numbers available.
We need that, because the reason why we're asking that question is we're not putting enough emphasis on apartments in this city. And you're not going to get us to stop talking about it. I don't care what council meeting happens, this commission is always going to hold the city accountable. And it's not going to be just for single-family homes. It is going to be for the apartment renters in this city. And we're not going to stop talking about it no matter how much you want us to stop talking about it. We are going to stay on top of you until we eradicate this issue the best way we can in this city, and our renters should be getting the same treatment that our single-family homes owners are when it comes to holding them accountable. I get it. We're going to get the same talking points that we get every time. I don't need you to answer that. These are rhetorical statements. But we're letting you know as a commission, we are going to keep talking about this, whether you like to hear it or not, whether city staff thinks we're talking about it too much, whether city staff thinks we're talking about it too long, whether city staff thinks that we're dragging our meetings on too long. We're going to keep talking about it. And we're going to keep holding you accountable to making sure that we're not focusing on just one demographic in this city. All demographics in this city are held to the same standards. And now, again, we have on record that there is no difference when it comes to violations between single-family homes and apartment dwellings. That means everybody should have the same criteria. So that means one major violation, infestation, no running water, things of that nature, should be given the same attention as any other single-family home. So we are not going to stop talking about that. It is going to be a continued conversation until the city starts making more of an effort bringing those cases before us, because we want to see those cases. And we'll tackle that a little bit later here. This is our time. We're discussing this as a commission with our questions for you all. Is there any other question that we have as a commission for the city staff relating to these apartment dwellings? Seeing none, we're going to move on to the next order of business. Calling the case item 9, 1107 Pennsylvania Street.
For 1107 Pennsylvania Street, the date of the initial inspection was May 3rd, 2023. There was a hearing on June 12th, 2023. The property did not have to be secured. There are children in the area. There is a school nearby. There's not a history of police complaints. The current tax value of the property is $26,900. The estimated cost of repairs is $54,783, which is obviously well over 100% of the tax value. The city is seeking an order to demolish the property. The owner had indicated for multiple months that they were trying to, they told the inspector they were trying to sell it. That has not happened, so that's why there was the delay in bringing it before you. We need something to happen with this. We did have good service. We mailed both first class and certified. The Inspector's hearing, today's hearing, the order to repair, all the letters have gone out, first class is certified. Inspector Martha Malden is the inspector for this case, and Justin is showing the video.
Commissioner, I believe you already heard from Ms. Holt regarding the service of notices in the matter. Inspector Malden, just to confirm, are you the one who inspected the property in question?
Not originally, no.
Okay. But you've been out there and subsequently documented those violations?
Yes.
And with regard to the photograph or video being shown, you were the one who took those? That video, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and that video accurately depicts the conditions of the property, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. And can you explain how many documented violations there were? Go through those a bit?
Yeah, there's no light in the property, no functional bathroom or kitchen, several broken windows, damaged window frames, broken back door, deteriorating walls, ceilings, and floors that are chipped and damaged, moisture and mildew damage, exposed electrical wires, light sockets, and no utilities throughout the property.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Inspector Malden. I'd open it up to any questions the commission may have along the way as well.
I don't believe there's anyone here speaking on the property. So does the commission have any questions for city staff? Seeing none, is there a motion regarding 1107 Pennsylvania Street?
I make a motion to uphold the inspector's order to demolish and adopt an ordinance to demolish and to allow staff to seek the summary ejectment of any occupant or occupants remaining in the commended property, and to petition the Guilford County Superior Court to appoint a qualified receiver.
I would want to bring to your attention, Vice Chair Hawkins, I believe this was an ordinance to repair.
Oh, forgive me.
That's what it shows here in our docket. So is it an ordinance to demolish, or is it an ordinance to repair?
It's an order to, just show an order to repair.
Okay, then that's, my copy says demolish, so I apologize.
On the housing fact sheet, it says requesting order to demolish, but yes, the agenda does state order to repair.
It's
Yes, sir.
an order to demolish.
Yep.
Well, then your motion could stand since it is an ordinance to demolish. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so that was properly motioned and second. Commissioner McCaskill, we'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Are any opposed? That does pass unanimously. So the property involved in this matter is located at 1107 Pennsylvania Street. The property owner and all parties and interests in said property have been properly served with all complaints, notices, or orders issued in this matter in compliance with the law. The property owner and all parties and interests were afforded their due process rights in compliance with the law. The property in question has more than 5 separate types of violations of any of the minimum housing code standards, and the cost to repair, I do apologize, I'm reading the wrong one, because we did make that change. Let me read the correct one, my apologies. So the property owner involved in this matter is located at 1107 Pennsylvania Street. The property owner and all parties and interests in said property have been properly served with all the complaints, notices, or orders issued in this matter in compliance with the law. The property owner and all parties and interests were afforded their due process rights in compliance with the law. The property in question has more than 5 separate types of violations of any of the minimum housing code standards, and the cost to repair said violations is greater than 50% of the value of the structure. The continuation of the dwelling in its current condition is detrimental to the health, safety, morals, and welfare of the people within the city of Greensboro and is unfit for human habitation. Based upon the foregoing findings of fact, it is hereby concluded that this matter is properly before this commission. The described structure is dangerous and unfit for human habitation, and the order of the inspector is proper in all respects. Therefore, it is ordered, resolved, and decreed by a vote of this commission unanimously that the inspector's order to demolish is upheld. This the 19th day of November 2025. Moving on to the next order of business, items 10 and 11. Is there a motion?
I move to rescind items 10 and 11, which are now in compliance.
We do have a motion. Is there a second? That was motioned and properly second. We'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That does pass unanimously. Moving on to the next order of business, our commissioner discussion and reflections. Before I begin, does anybody on the commission have anything that they would like to discuss or bring up?
I would like to both acknowledge Commissioners Isifu and Furley for statements made in the midst of yesterday's council meeting with regard to the removal of powers by the council as it relates to the Minimum Housing Standards Commission, and a very overwhelming acknowledgement of, not to slight you, Commissioner Seafood, but a large acknowledgement of Commissioner Furlow's Dare to Be Bold speech. Referred to it as the Dare to Be Bold speech.
Somehow I figured no one was going to die during that meeting.
There were some spirited moments, to say the least. But, gentlemen, thank you both, and certainly you did what was within your resolve to do. And I felt it important to acknowledge those actions.
Thank you.
Yes, I would echo those same sentiments as well. Any other talking points the commission would like to discuss? All right. So there's going to be quite a few things that we're going to discuss here today, especially now that we're going into next month with the new council. So the first thing we're going to discuss here as a commission, if for some that are aware, some may not be aware, there were several articles that came out through Yes Weekly and through other news outlets regarding the commission pretty much since we last met. Most of it stemming from our September meeting, which is kind of what triggered or was the catalyst for some of the talking points and conversations of our commission as a whole. In that, it garnered a significant amount of attention in the city as it related to this commission, as it related to housing, affordable housing, safe housing, and what the city may or may not be doing for its residents that garnered attention, which I think was great to be able to see. I think it got the residents excited. I think it brought a level of energy and passion back to this commission that had been possibly dissipated. As we're majority aware at this point, council did what we thought they would do anyways, and take away powers, which in conversations, myself even with council, that same council that took it away were also the same council that gave it to this commission, ironically enough. The one thing about that, one of the many things about that, I will say, is what one council takes away, another council has the ability to add. So I think at this point, the focus of this commission should be moving forward and being able to now partner with almost a brand new council, a council that publicly has made statements during their campaign that ran on safe, affordable housing, with at least 4 or 5 of the 6 making that a huge platform of theirs. And the ability for possibly better partnership with a new council. And they have the opportunity now to demonstrate do they mean what they say. They ran on it, they got elected on it, and to kind of steal a phrase from Mayor-elect Boozawaiter, who has shared on more than one occasion with media outlets that she has a mandate because of the way she won and the point spread she won. Several of these newly elected council persons also have a mandate with how large they won their district by 20 or so points. So they have a mandate for their districts to represent their constituents are asking and pleading and expecting of them. I'm not going to get into the weeds from last night's council meeting. There were several times there was misrepresentations of this commission that I definitely take offense with. That's politics. I think the focus of this commission moving forward is, 1, where do we go from here? And 2, how do we get there? And I'm going to circle back to that at a later time here through some of the other items that we're going to discuss. I think with the media attention that we got with this commission and some of the public record polls that were done with city staff and council, shines a light on exactly what we felt, what was happening as to why we weren't being able to partner the way we wanted to partner. Because last night's meeting could have been addressed a year ago with the multiple times we had asked to do a work session. And in that work session, we could have found resolution of what we can and can't do. In that work session, we could have figured out other ways to partner with other entities within the city. In that work session, we could have, instead of trying to hide behind Raleigh, and we're going to get to that too a little bit later, instead of trying to hide behind Raleigh and trying to hide behind what we can't do, I think one of the biggest things last night that was disappointing was not focusing so much on what we could do. If you're going to take away, then replace it with something. If you're going to take away and say this is not in compliance with what we believe state law to be right now, well, what are things in compliance with state law that we can still empower to make our residents feel like they have safe, affordable housing? So we talked about some of those things in our training session, and we definitely pitched quite a few different ideas. And watching last night's meeting, hearing the city attorney's office repeatedly say, we're looking into things. We've been looking into things for a while. It's not about looking into them, it's what are we going to implement? What are we actually going to do? I am solution driven. I'm not going to be a politician that's going to say, we're thinking about it, we're figuring it out, we're researching it, and that's going to be our talking point for months or years. This commission is going to figure out solutions. And we're going to hold the city to figuring out solutions, not talking points. I think it's unfortunate that some maybe here in this meeting today have forgotten possibly that they work for the people. City staff works for us, the residents of Greensboro. We don't work for you. Our elected officials are in their roles because they work for us. We elected them there. There needs to be an understanding again that we are trying to figure out the best interest of the people of Greensboro and not what's easier for city staff or what's easier for council to ignore or what's easier to dismiss or to pacify us or to pass us off or to ignore or dismiss because maybe we don't want more work, maybe it's a little bit more challenging, it might be difficult. That's the job you signed up for. And to quote our city attorney, Laura Cubbage, who was in our meeting in September, if you can't do it, just resign. Because that's what she told us. We can't do it, we can't handle it. Why are you still here? So I'm gonna pose that question back to city staff and the council. If you can't do the job that you signed up for, if you're not willing to do the job that you signed up for, if you're not gonna do everything in your power for the elected role that you were elected for, then why don't you resign? Because this commission is passionate about housing. And with some of the city staff here today, looking at your expressions on your faces right now, it just makes it even more evident for your public record pool and your emails that were made public about what you said about this commission. And I think it's very offensive that city staff in their public record pool, with two of those individuals in this audience today, making the comment that there is a small section we are removing. That is the rental study portion. Our commission only needs to vote yes or no on conditions for residential and commercial structures. So they reduced this commission to a rubber stamp of yes or no. And we were told in training, when we were presented with this was going to be a proposal to council, we were told that this came strictly from the city attorney's office. Through public record polls, that came from our chief code compliance with the city attorney's office, or chief of compliance, I'm sorry. So, there seems to be things that city staff seem so conveniently to throw the former city attorney's office under the bus, who is no longer here. And they want us, I believe Attorney Cubbage told us in September, give us the chance, give us the opportunity, partner with us. And what happened within 3 weeks after that statement? The removal of our powers. So we're supposed to trust, partner, work with and then individuals in an entity that almost instantly, when we reached out to them to say, hey, these are some of our frustrations we've had for a considerable amount of time that could have been addressed. This isn't your time.
Commissioner Scott.
This isn't your time.
Well, sir.
This is not your time.
Sir.
You can say, sir, all you want to. This is the Minimum Housing Standards Commission.
It is.
One thing you're not going to do in this commission is interrupt our commissioner reflection time. If you would like to schedule a special meeting, we can schedule a special meeting. If you would like to talk or add something to the agenda, because we asked city staff at the beginning of this meeting were there any changes to the agenda, and there weren't. This is our time. You get to speak when we call on you. If we don't call on you, just like any other council meeting, when they get to talk, they get to talk.
Commissioner Scott, I sit routinely with other boards and offer up advice throughout the meetings.
I'm not asking for advice. When I ask for advice, I'll reach out.
Yes, sir. Well, two things.
When I ask for advice, I will reach out.
Well, sir, I really don't know if we want to keep the professional staff that are in the room here, while we're not conducting.
When I need when this commission needs your advice. We will reach out.
All right, sir.
In regards to moving forward with this commission and moving forward with the new new council members, I believe we're definitely going to be looking forward to who will be the new council person representing this commission, since Dr. Wells is retiring. And so she will no longer be the liaison to this commission. So that means there will be a new council person as the liaison to this commission, which gives us a great opportunity to be able to partner and build with new council, with new ideas, with figuring out what we can do to help better the residents here in the city of Greensboro. Before we move on, is there any conversations amongst the commission in relation to what took place in council meeting last night? Yes, Commissioner Furlow.
I agree with something you said at the outset, is that the attention brought to the issues that the council dealt with last night shined a lot of light on this commission and on the problems that those residents there last night articulated. And so to me, last night's meeting was a very positive. You know, may not have gotten the vote that you wanted, but it was overall, I saw that meeting as a good thing. And I would suggest, and I'm a rookie here, I'm mindful of that, but I would suggest that we bring down the chapter, bring down the curtain on this act, and move forward, assuming good faith and giving good faith, while at the same time applying all the pressure that you suggest to the new council configuration. 6 new people, I believe. Someone said it earlier, if you're going to take away authority from us, add back some authority. And I would suggest that we try to work creatively with the city attorney's office, with the code enforcement staff, to the manager, to see what we can do, what can be done to give us more arrows in our quiver in hopes of being able to address some of the issues you articulated earlier in the meeting about multifamily housing. Let's face it, that's where the numbers are, that's where the problems are. And so I think we all would like to be able to have a bigger role to play in that. And from my standpoint, I'm suggesting that we do this collectively, but I personally will say, let's go forward in the spirit of cooperation and good faith without losing track of our commitment to trying to uphold minimum housing standards for all residents. I hope that makes sense.
May I momentarily just respond to something that Mr. Furlow said in the spirit of following up on what he said?
Go ahead.
Okay, so, Mr. Furlow, you indicated, of course, this is going to have to be a collaborative effort between everybody, right?
I'm sorry, would you please repeat that?
I said you indicated this is, of course, going to have to be a collaborative effort between everybody, right? You mentioned working with the city manager's office, council, the city attorney's office. I can only speak for myself and the city attorney's office, to say Obviously, we would look to work on any initiatives that are driven by council and in cooperation with the city manager's office to look at the substantive protections offered under the housing code, right? Been looking at that quite a lot this morning, in fact. I am hoping that we will be able to get to a responsive place, but we're gonna have to work with council. And I don't want to get out in front of any advice that my office is going to be providing to them soon in regard to that. But again, speaking for me personally, heard the message last night and trying to make sure we can move forward in the right direction, again, at the direction of council and in cooperation with the city manager's office. Would never dispute that you all have an advisory role to play, but we have to work at the council's direction.
To that end, what both council and the city attorney's office have demonstrated thus far is the old adage that appears to hold water, which is what's past is prologue. What we have done up to most recently is put forth our best efforts, our best foot, and our best practices into what has been more than a year. And a year and 4 months. So 16 months, we have done that very thing and beyond. And what it has accomplished, you know what? Scratch that. What it has not accomplished, since what seems to be at hand is what can't be done and what falls to the state. So what hasn't been done is requests honored, not so much as a response or retort given based on requests in hand, requests in emails, requests on desks, requests made face to face, ear to ear, without what appears to be even a monicum of consideration. To say the least, not even a yes or no, but to quote a phrase, or excuse me, to quote a specific council member, well, if such a thing took place, I'm not aware of it. Now, not to offend anyone, and certainly not to take away from anyone's abilities, but present council, at last check, does not have a person who is sight impaired or has a reading deficiency. And while there are areas of lack as it relates to our residents, that lack has not come from our lack of action. However, it can be agreed upon that a lack of action has taken place as it relates to city leadership. Thank you. An unsolicited testimonial from an outside source. Outstanding. Impeccably timed, Commissioner Sifu. In any case, and perhaps that moment of light needed to take place because, moment of transparency, there is beyond a level of frustration that's at work here. And truth be told, residents who are not, how did City Attorney Covich put it, not educated in the areas necessary to carry out a study. I'm not. But I do know how to actively listen. And based on the inference made, that whole notion of study centered around having one done, which says to me that there's a lack of active listening at work. This was not, by way of verbiage, a study as in to perform one, which is a noun in context, but a study or to study by way of a verb, as in to review, to observe, to look at. Now, the argument to that was, well, it's not going to do anything, it's not going to prove anything, it's not going to give a substantive measure such that we can do something with it, to it, on it, or about it. So what you're inferring is there's no point in providing information since it's going to do nothing, be nothing, and used as nothing. Yet here we live in a world, culture, and civilization where the big push is information is everything. Knowledge is power. Yet you would see those who live in squalor disarmed by a lack of knowledge, existing / surviving in a space where their home is not a sanctuary. It's not a place that they want to come to find rest. But a council who appoints those residents who have a desire to make that better, to see to it, and are committing to that by way of duty, because duty means something, serving means something, to a city where the optics suggest that beyond council resides lesser people. Well, beyond City Hall, people are willing to stand in the gap for others, to stand tall for others, to do better and be better for the sake and good of those others who are not themselves. And the optics suggest some amongst council either have not, do not, or choose not to carry out such a thing. We do, are, and will.
The last thing I'm going to say, and then Commissioner Jones, you can tag in there. Just to respond slightly to council, or not even council, well, council asked the question, but from the city attorney's office, coming from the abilities that they wonder about our commission, what our talents are, what our professions are, what they believe we can and cannot do. The question was posed many times, even in last night's meeting. I don't know if the commission, well, has anyone done their research? Has anyone asked? Has anyone asked what we do as professions? Because there are members of this commission that are in the rental community. There are members of this commission that are realtors. There are members of this commission that work in housing. So, couple that with the statements made last night by Attorney Cubbage of what a expert witness would be. There are people on this commission that could be an expert witness because it's their profession. But I just wanted to point that out since you had touched on that just there, Commissioner Hawkins, that again, a lot of this could have been addressed a while ago in the repeated work sessions, and we could have had that conversation with council. They would have been made aware of who is in the housing market, who is in the profession, who can handle X, Y, and Z. We could have done a lot of this stuff, and it didn't have to get out in the open, and this wasn't what commission wanted. But we also want to advocate for the people that came out in droves last night at the council meeting in their frustration, the people that showed up at the polls in their frustration. And that's why I would like to believe all of us as commissioners do what we do for free. Not because we get a stipend, any special perk or benefit, but because we want to make a difference and we care. That's why we do it. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, to your point, last night was very, very concerning. I guess, earlier we kind of spoke about bad actors in the apartment rental. I know code compliance only has so much bandwidth, right? And in the spirit of collaboration and understanding the process and the processes of tenant-landlord disputes, as well as where we can step in as a commission on the back end, I just would urge that we really look at ways that we can take bad actors out of the apartment rental space. We really don't want to come to a point in the community where, like the tragedy with the children, I'm actually looking at it right now. It's an apartment complex off of Meadowview. The name of it is The Retreat at Cooper Creek now. So a while ago, that was a very concerning apartment complex, but the city of Greensboro did some type of fine / receivership of some sorts because the apartments were so bad. They were getting flooded when it was raining, rodent infestation. So there's a process in which they forced the sale of that apartment complex, and then they subsidized the upkeep to bring it up to code, which was given, I don't know the actual date, but I do know that it occurred because it's in my neighborhood. It's, like I said, right off of Meadowview, right off Pinecroft Road. The name is The Retreat at Cooper Creek. I would really like to look at that as an example to what we can do to get ahead of some of these serious problems that were, urged last night at the city council meeting. Roles, responsibilities, duties, etc. We can go on about that stuff, right? But what we really, everybody here understands that there has to be some type of minimum standard housing in Greensboro. Has to be. And it doesn't seem like the people who are less fortunate don't get they don't receive the services that they need in order to protect them from these bad actors. When you're looking at apartment complexes, when you're looking at a place, like you said, that's safe, that's a refuge from a hard day's work, you really don't want to come home to have to fight another battle. And it looks like if we don't get tough on some of these things now, it's just going to keep on repeating. We have a system in place that kind of rectifies the residential single occupancy, but these apartments are going to get out of hand. As economic development continues to boom in the city of Greensboro, a lot of people are going to get into these sticky situations with these bad apartment buildings. So whether it's this commission, whether it's code compliance, it really doesn't matter who does it, but we really have to look at some type of way that we can get better at large code compliance issues at these apartment complexes. When there's 7 to 10 issues at one apartment complex, there's probably like 50. But when you count language barriers, when you count people working all day and really just don't have the bandwidth to call the city, but there are issues. We have to kind of like stand in the gap there, right? And this is what, again, collaboratively, if there's, information that we can disseminate to our constituents that we come into contact with on a regular basis. If there's, some type of event or activity that we can plan in these neighborhoods where we know, bad actors are, we can get out in front and say, hey, listen, there's issues at your apartment complex. Is there issues in your unit? Can we come inspect? You just can't leave it up to chance. A door hanger is good, right? But what if you don't read English? What if you don't read Spanish? Those are the things that kind of concern me rather than the political, photo ops and the hot takes that happen on city council nights sometimes can just get in the way of just doing what's right. And I know I see a lot of people in our community that just, need the services of the city, needs the protection of the city, when there are major apartment complexes that are just notoriously bad. And we know they're bad, you guys know they're bad, but it's like, what do we do about these issues? I don't want to play the blame game or pass the buck. I just like to do some research and know this is what we can do, this is the boundaries, and if we need to step in as the commission, as volunteers, again, I don't have the same, the boundaries in which you guys have as city staff, right? You guys can only do so much in your roles, but if there's things outside of that we can do, if there's, again, activities, events, ways that we can get into the community to advocate that, listen, you guys need to call code compliance, talk to this person. These are the issues that you're facing. We know it, we already know. And sometimes people are just shameful. They're not the most open because they feel some type of personal responsibility, but it's like, your living conditions are above, the problems with your living conditions are above you every day. They, again, apartment complexes know, section, apartment unit 7B has been bad. We just throw some paint over some mold, change out a couple of lights, and rent it over again. That has to stop. We have to look at ways that we can make sure they're actually fixing issues and not just putting a Band-Aid on a broken arm and those serial, apartments that are just notorious for being bad. We have to look at ways that we can empower the community to do something before it's a nuclear thing where somebody dies. It's just too late at that point, right? Like everybody's looking around and sad and sorry and, oh, we're gonna do better next time, but it's like, we're in a room full of professionals. We can do it, right and get it together before it comes to that point, so.
Mr. Jones, if I may, just briefly, to build off of what I said earlier in response to your comment. Again, on my side, City Attorney's Office, we are going to have to be a piece of, any substantive changes to the ordinance. We're already looking at that. I don't want to get out in front of any advice that may be forthcoming from us to council. But additionally, I hear what you're saying about sort of an educational and advisory component. That is something that came up at length at council last night. Obviously, sort of in the same spirit of what I think you and Mr. Furlow have said, we'll have to look at that collectively to see exactly what that advisory and educational role looks like. But again, I hear you loud and clear. I think that the professional staff that supports the board is eager to do what we can moving forward. Folks would like to get to the business of supporting the board's work. So I don't know what else I can say other than that, but recognizing, of course, y'all have your comment period. And
Commissioner McCann. Yes, Chair Scott and fellow commissioners, please, total rookie here. So, as I understand it, going over here, what is there, Bill? We decide on matters appealed from the rules of the building inspector and code of compliance. So ultimately, they're the ones that are the fist that can do something about the city. We care about the level of minimum housing standard here at the city of Greensboro, but our job here on the commission is to help decide on the matters that are brought before us with that. I know that there are plenty of multifamily, single-family landlords that do not run top-of-the-line facilities. And we want to see those elevated for individuals, communities of lesser demographic to where they constantly struggle with these problems versus other communities. And we want to see all of that elevated. But on this commission, from a power standpoint, when we say power being taken from us and for us, we're here to decide to help supporting the code of compliance of upholding repairs or demolished to elevate the community. So if I'm misunderstanding something from a power being taken from us, and again, I know there's been a lot of conversation about rental rates and the study of rental rates and how that could affect the city and how we can elevate our housing standards by correcting rental rates. But within the commission, if we're here deciding on the matters that come from the code of compliance, and we're here, shouldn't the code of compliance, we should speak for the city council to elevate their code and their ability versus getting on them about what they can do versus helping them out and what we can help decide on.
So I'll respond, Commissioner McCaskill. To a degree of kind of your interpretation of the commission as of last evening's vote, that would be moving forward what appears to be what this commission is able to do up until that vote. Because we've had this conversation many times in the past with the former city attorney's office, where they would remind us that we wear two hats. We are the compliance piece, but we also are the educational piece for housing in the city as well. So when we adjudicate cases here, that's the compliance component. But we also represent our districts. And so with those constituents out there, if they need to reach out to us to say, hey, how do I do this? How do I handle this? What is the educational process of this? How can I get in touch with this department? That's also the other hat that we wear. And that was something that Deputy City Attorney Tony Baker told us on a repeated occasion in our recorded meetings. So that's in our minutes as well. Moving forward, that seems like that might be what you kind of described where we're at now. I'll leave it at that, with that. But prior to, and I think that's a conversation talking point that we might need to have now, that actually you bringing that up made me think, because we do wear that second hat. And so just because rental rates and because entering dwellings with an inspector was stricken from our powers, it didn't take away, to my knowledge, that we still have the educational component of representing our districts for the individuals that need assistance and need help, that we still wear that hat as well. And that has been told to us from council.
Yeah, I think from my personal experience, education's everything. And it sounds like, again, door hangers are great. Again, it allows people an opportunity, but let's be honest, there are people in this city that don't want to call a government person for anything. That they're fearful of a government person standing inside their dwelling for a number of reasons, to where I'm not going to call that number. So I think education and what code of compliance can help support us specifically within the multifamilies, because if there are multiple problems across buildings, getting the power of the city involved to get problems corrected, I think it's the education piece. Again, as I'm learning, as I'm continuing to sit in these, I know that as we look over the houses, we've seen some pretty terrible houses. I think we all agree very quickly that either they need to be repaired or torn down. There's nothing you can do about that, especially in today's case. There's nothing you can do to that house to make it livable again. Tear it down. But I hear everyone here talk about we want to elevate the minimum housing standard. But I know that as I learn more about, again, today was the first time hearing about the second piece, that we have an education responsibility. So that's a huge piece that I agree. And I think we can talk for days on about how do we further educate our people, what resources we do have here in the city.
Any other comments relating to that you have?
It's not necessarily directly related to that, but just from my professional opinion, because I don't know if I'm the only one that you.
Is it on?
It is.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay, let me just get closer.
I'm
So I don't know if if I am the only one who works in housing on the commission currently, but I am a realtor who also does property management. So I think, like everyone has said, but also I'm going to continue to say the main thing for the multifamilies is going to be fines. I mean, if you don't increase the fines, it's not going to. They're not going to move any faster. You don't care about losing $200 when you're going to get $10,000 net at the end of the month. It doesn't hit the same. And I also want to say what the city has already said. A lot of times we don't see the multifamily because they have so many units and they don't want to lose, so they fix the problems faster than maybe a single family or a single family person can fix one house faster than a multifamily can fix 20 units. Now, is that the tenant's problem? No. I mean, work still needs to be done, but I do think that the fastest and most effective way to hit the multifamily owners is going to be increasing fines, because that is where it's going to hurt the most in their pockets. So if we get those fines increased however way, even if they've been increased, they're not high enough. I guarantee they're not high enough. If the fines increase, then they will be more apt to do more work, do faster work. And that is why I feel we don't see. Now, I feel like we should see more multifamily on here, but I do feel like, with my own personal knowledge, with city involvement in units that I've worked with, we're just more inclined to jump on top of that immediately, because especially when you have a management company who is not an owner, that is not something that you want to kind of get into the middle of. So if you have appropriate management, that will help some of the multifamilies as well, but the fines, it's got to be the fines for those multifamily owners.
To that end, question directly to both city staff and city attorney's office. Who dictates what those expenses entail? Who sets that for the fines? Who actually sets that mark?
Commissioner Hawkins, it's an ordinance, so it's set by city council.
Yeah.
So, again, as I said, looking at some things to try to provide further substantive protection. I hear you.
Hopefully we'll have another idea here that we'll be able to discuss here in just a moment. Not to continue to dwell on that, we can bring that topic up maybe at another meeting. A couple other quick things, or what I would hope would be quick. City staff, so Christy possibly, can we get the website updated with Vice Chair's information, as it's still not up there? As well as, I do notice that at least half of the commissions on the city website actually have photos of their commissioners. And if we're talking about educational pieces and getting out in the community and having our residents know who we are and being able to aid or assist them, then that might be a good idea for this commission to also have their photos, as several other commissions have their photos on the website as well, where they can put a name with a face. And if we are trying to help those individuals, they can go to the website and they can see, oh, these are these people. Just some observation that I saw.
Yeah. So, getting Mr. Hawkins notated as the vice chair, that I can have that done in a matter of, by the end of the day. That's not a problem at all. As far as the photos, I will reach out to our communications team, and that shouldn't be a big deal. I mean, that's a simple request, and relevant, so I'll reach out about that too.
Thank you. The next thing I wanted to bring up, so with all the attention the commission got, I started researching a lot of things about the commission, about commission and boards in the state, things of that nature, kind of going back through and rereading a lot of stuff, especially the handbook. One of the things that I noticed in our handbook that is a power that we have as well as a commission, is that we have the ability of calling special meetings. So we have the ability of calling a special meeting outside of our standard meeting. And the procedure for calling a special meeting is that the chair calls the special meeting, and as long as the commission and it's been publicly recorded 48 hours in advance, we can have a meeting any day in the month outside of this day, every day of the month, as long as we give the notice and the chair calls that special meeting. So when we want to have a work session, if we have a 911 situation on this commission, if there's something that we want to not wait for until the next meeting, we can call our own special meetings. I thought that was a very interesting thing to discover, and it's in our handbook. Actually on page 51 and 52, if council needs to confirm that that's accurate. The next thing that I wanted to bring up is also, as a commission, we have the ability, and I'm glad that actually Christy made us aware of the 2026 commission meeting dates, but we have the ability of setting our dates and our meetings, and we also have the ability of setting our time. As I researched all of the commission meeting times for the entire city of Greensboro, this commission and civil service are the only commissions that meet during business hours. Every single commission, Piedmont Triad Airport Authority, Board of Adjustment, meet at 5:30. Cultural Affairs, meet at 5:30. Status of Women, meet at 6. Sustainability Council, 5:30. Criminal Justice, 6 p.m. Historic Preservation, 6 p.m. Human Rights Commission, 6 p.m. Parks and Rec, 5:30 p.m. Redevelopment and Commission, 5:30 p.m. Let me also, Parks and Rec Commission is also newly elect C.C. Crawford, who's the vice chair of that commission. Several of the other quasi-judicial commissions meet after business hours. We are the only quasi-judicial body that meets Monday through Friday between 9 and 5. And every other planning and zoning, transit advisory, everybody meets in the evening. We all have work. We all have to take time off of work to come to these meetings. So I am proposing a motion that we adjust our meeting time from 1:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. in the evenings on the third Wednesday of every month. So that way it's convenient possibly for the rest of us to make these meetings, so that way we don't have to skip out and miss work and take time off, so that we can address this, because it's been clear to us we're volunteers. We don't get paid for this. So to make it also convenient for us to do city business, when it's convenient, possibly more for us.
Chair, are you proposing that this would be effective immediately?
This would be for starting January 1st of 2026.
I seconded that motion.
There is a motion and a second. We'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That does pass unanimously. Or I'm sorry, any opposed?
Opposed?
All right, so we have a Commissioner Fellow can't vote. So that does pass 6-1. So the new meeting time starting January 1st will be 5:30 p.m. the third Wednesday of every month.
Sir, I do have to verify availability of the chamber, so just
No worries.
know that.
Do we need to go ahead and provide a motion to approve the dates for 2026?
Should we wait to make sure that the chambers is available before we vote on the dates? Or does it matter?
Motion to approve dates for 2026.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones? All right. Nay? Are there any other? What, did you vote? I didn't hear you. Oh. Okay, so that does pass. 6-1? Yeah, I voted against it. All right. The next item here is also in reviewing our code of conduct and our handbook as well. I've noticed for a significant amount of time that there are sometimes distractions in these meetings pertaining to electronic devices, phones, AirPods, things of that nature. Based on our code of conduct, page 7 through 8 and 11, it does clearly state that no phone usage should be used in chambers while we are meeting unless it is pertaining to commission business. If it is personal, we are supposed to excuse ourselves and go outside. So I just want to remind us that when we are in here, that we are in here, that we are paying attention. And even if we are paying attention and great multitaskers, we don't want to give the image to the city, to city staff, that we are not giving it our full attention. We can't hold them to a standard and then not hold ourselves to a standard as well. So I just wanted to point that out as a commission moving forward. If we're going to be on our phones or things of that nature, let's make sure that it is for city and commission business. Otherwise, please excuse yourselves outside and then come back in when you are ready to tackle the issues at hand. The next item here, this is for the city attorney's office. I know that you said this in this meeting here, you stated that you all have been looking into a lot of options on how this commission can offer more assistance to a city resident.
Try to address these things with some notice in between meetings. If we can perhaps have communication via email in advance, glad to try to help facilitate whatever we can.
Okay. Hopefully, in a meeting here soon, we'll be able to maybe get an answer to that question since we just posed it, as well as the prior question, I'm sorry. I know in the council meeting last night, there were conversations about housing here in the city and it growing in different areas in regards to building. I know that there is an increase, it seems like, of building homes that are single-family homes, building some apartment complexes and things like that around the area. Question of trying to find out, I'm not sure who can answer the question. And I know that we are trying to kind of elevate the city to get towards a Charlotte or Raleigh. We're not there yet, but trying to compete with those markets somewhat, or trying to get into those spaces. Potentially, a lot of the Charlotte-Raleigh areas have townhomes and townhome rental communities. And in Greensboro, we only have one. And it's a set of villas that's actually kind of, I believe, in Jamestown. Well, close to Jamestown, but I think it has a Greensboro address. But outside of that community, I'm not aware of any other community here that offers housing options that aren't just single family and that aren't just apartments, because there is potentially a untapped market here in Greensboro that Charlotte and Raleigh areas have tapped into of developing townhomes for rental spaces. And so is there a way where, whether it's planning and development or, another entity where that's something that could be looked into as we're looking for builders in the city and we're getting single family homes great and apartment complexes great, but there's also potentially another space of the townhome community and possibly developing townhome rental communities for those that don't want to be in apartments, maybe can't get into single family homes. So the townhome option might be very pivotal for them. Just a thought, and wondering, is that something that we could look into in some form or fashion? Whether we can execute it or not, just asking as a thought.
Gotcha. Two things, if I may, quickly. Townhome rental specific, you said, correct? Okay,
Yes.
all right. Let me first say, I think this is one of those items that it would be good for me to try to connect you with professional staff with. So again, one of those things that I would encourage. I think we'd handle most expeditiously outside of the meeting since it doesn't really fall squarely within our ambit here, I'd say. I can try to get you connected with the right professional staff. I have a couple ideas on who that might be, so let's follow up.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, one solution to the question that you raised is creating infill dwellings on small lots that might be available. And in another group, non-profit interfaith group that I'm involved with, we have done some study on that, and there's someone in the city planning department who is also studying this issue, and it involves pre-approved building plans, so that a person, she owns a lot, she's not a professional developer, but she's got a lot, she could go to the city, choose from a catalog of available plans for a duplex, triplex, fourplex, as long as it meets the zoning requirements. You get these plans for free. They're already pre-approved in terms of the building itself. It still has to have site plan and all the site-specific stuff. But instead of having to go to this department, get a permit, and then go to this department, get a permit, they reject it, it's got to go back to the first department. That's one of the things that slowed development down. Under this scenario, you go to the city, you take one of these plans, and then you purchase a bundle of permits that are already done. So we're exploring that, and I spent quite a bit of time studying this issue myself. And there's some cities across the country, among them Kalamazoo, Michigan, and South Bend, Indiana, who have adopted these plans. And it's still very new. It's a new area. And the jury is still out on whether they work in terms of anybody taking advantage of it. But some are. Anyway, not to belabor it, but it's just something that people outside the city are thinking about. But also, I do know that the city planning department also has it on their radar. And my other group will be trying to push them, advance the city council to look at this. It's like the ADUs. It's just it's not a silver bullet. It's just one piece of the puzzle.
Thank you for that. The next few ones definitely, I believe, will be on our preview if some of the others teetered the lines here. So, in a couple city council meetings ago, and then it also made a lot of local news, a lot of noise in the city, and I'm referencing the Howard Johnson hotel situation. My question would be for city staff and the city's attorney's office. Why did the Howard Johnson situation not become before this commission? Because to our understanding, all dwellings in the city with violations would come before minimum housing standards. And we know hotels are also being used as living spaces. And if I'm incorrect, I believe also inspections are to be done at hotels on an annual basis to meet code for fire violations and things of that nature. And I could be incorrect in regards to that, but I believe that was an understanding that was shared with me at some point. So I guess wanting to know, as other residents in the city have also asked me, why did this commission, if the Howard Johnson was so condemned, had so many violations, had so many issues, why did that dwelling not come before this commission?
Commissioner.
I do know that the fire department does annual inspection. I think it's annual. Yes, annual inspections. Multiple departments were out there. I don't remember who from Code Compliance out there. I believe it was Mark. And so, but so was the Chief Building Inspector, Todd Dixon. The Chief Electrical Inspector. I mean, multiple departments were out there. But as far as why it hasn't come here, I don't know.
Commissioner Scott. Again, that is an item that I don't know that we can sit here and provide you a clean answer for something of that nature on the spot. Again, that situation has been addressed by the city. I haven't had direct involvement in it, but understand it has. This is another one of those items that I would just say again, if this is a question for us to sort of, connect up resources from across the city, different departments, so on and so forth, glad to help assist with that. I'm hopeful, for the meeting, we can stay within what we have, that we're contending with.
Well, I think that this is within what we have because we're talking about multi-dwelling domiciles. So a hotel is specifically that.
Yes, sir.
And so if there are a ton of code violations, then it has to be condemned. And it wasn't addressed in the 90 days they have to fix the issue, then by ordinance that was just told to us a few moments ago, that they have the same ordinance and standard of single-family homes, then that should have came before this commission so that we order an ordinance to demolish or repair. So there is a reason why we're asking, and it kind of links with the whole apartment issue. Because the hotel is tandem to the apartment issue. So the Howard Johnson should have been something that was brought before this commission based off of the violations that required it to be shut down.
Yeah.
Chair, I do believe there's a large criminal aspect to that
No, I understand that.
specifically, which I think that's outside code.
I understand there's a criminal aspect
I
to
think
that.
that was primarily like meth labs and stuff that people had in the rooms, which falls out, again, while it is a violation of code, it's because of the criminal aspect. It prevented it from getting to us.
I think the thing that we're forgetting in this meeting, for my management, and I appreciate the city attorney's office of saying we can email, but this needs to be on the record in public, not an email. This needs to be the public knowing that this commission is actively asking the questions, not in private, and making the city in public address it. That's the whole point of this commission. We are the compliance arm. So if we have questions about how things are being handled, it can't just be email, so it's between two people. It needs to be in public, in this commission, asked in our comments, and commissioner reflections, whether they agree or not. Because again, city staff works for the city of Greensboro. So that's the reason why this is the appropriate place to ask these questions. Because at the same time, yes, it wasn't a criminal situation. I'm aware of that. But at what point did it become criminal? Because if housing code violations were addressed before it became criminal, we could have addressed the issue before it became criminal. But we won't know. And so the question is simply based on housing code violations, then that should appropriately come before this commission. Unless city staff says, hey, there is something that's going on. We can't bring it before this commission because there's some other things going on. And they can be vague however they want to be vague. And then after the fact of everything that takes place, this is what we were referencing. We were building a case, we were doing X, Y, and Z. But there has to be some form of transparency if this commission is supposed to be a compliance arm, and if everyone in the city is being held to the same standard. I think the big thing we're trying to make sure is everyone is held to the same standard, and it doesn't give the optic that it's not. And that's why when we're talking about apartments, Howard Johnson fits potentially that same stratosphere. And if it doesn't, then please, at some point provide us the legal advice why it wouldn't. But until we get that legal advice that says it doesn't, then the optics would appear that it does.
Gotcha. And Commissioner Scott, again, I'm glad to have some follow-up on that point. I do think there are specifics regarding the structure and nature violations that explain the path that was taken. But yeah, as I mentioned, I think, and I don't want to suggest that a please email me something is anything more than a suggestion about efficacy of information sharing. I mean, we can certainly have conversation here, but just from the standpoint of getting you linked up with the right people, maybe easiest sometimes.
Thank you.
I think it's important to note that there is an opportunity here to make a difference in an area where one could have and potentially should have been made but wasn't. So now, going forward, we can approach this as a means to say, okay, let's be realistic. Surely, the Howard Johnsons was not an anomaly in this city. Because, truth be told, how realistic is that? That one such a space is simply a one-off. With that being known, with that being considered as a mere question, then moving forward as opposed to taking an approach that is an afterthought or after the fact, let's move forward with a preemptive approach and saying, okay, let's examine these spaces that potentially have that, or keep our ears open, or keep on the radar, or at least place on the radar those places and spaces that say give off similar characteristics, or offer ABC criteria that was similar to the Howard Johnsons.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I hate to bring such a mundane issue up, but I don't know how many more things you have, but I need to go, and I think maybe some others may need to go. I wonder if we could get our parking permits.
If Christy wants to pass those out, she's welcome to. There's two more items, and they're actually two of the biggest ones. So if you have to leave, I understand, Commissioner Furlow. Unfortunately, at the meeting, you're not a voting member, so I understand.
No great loss.
But with everything that's kind of taken place over the last month or two, and with the media attention that the commission has gotten and the public being energized about safe and affordable housing, I've been contacted by numerous individuals, community organizers, and others that would like at this time to remain anonymous, that want to know how they can partner with this commission, how they can assist this commission, how they can mobilize and activate the community with this commission, with the intention very soon of doing just that. And I told them I wouldn't speak on behalf of the commission. I told them that I would bring this to our next commission meeting so that it could be a conversation as a commission. For the sake of time, I would implore you all to reach out to me directly on what you think your items are, that individuals here in the city can partner with us so that we also have the ability of providing safe, affordable housing and holding those accountable that need to be held accountable within our purview, both wearing the duty hat of compliance, but also the representative of our district. So there are a large number of people that want to help. So if you can get those to me, So that way we can provide a collective of what we believe could be helpful to the residents in the city. That would be great, so that way I can help them help us. The last item here, I think, is the most important. We talked about city attorney's offices mentioned on more than one occasion about their research and figuring out ways to empower either us as a commission or what we can do to hopefully add more teeth to minimum housing in Greensboro. And so I don't know if anybody paid attention to election night in the state of North Carolina, but a little city up the road about 50 minutes from here in Durham did something phenomenal. And it was actually something that was done by their city council. They didn't have to go to Raleigh. They didn't have to get permission. They passed it themselves as a council. And what they passed on election night, just about 2 weeks ago, was what is called the new tenant protection law. And it's a law in Durham. And the law says that the amendment to the housing code makes it illegal to collect rent when a property is deemed imminently dangerous to health or safety due to structural issues, rotted fire damage, or insect damaged structural supports, flooring, steps, or an unsafe ceiling or roof. In addition to that, sorry, I'm losing the other, there's a lot of other social media content that went out regarding this, and it was a unanimous vote by the city of Durham City Council, not Raleigh. So we constantly hear what city council can't do. We heard a lot of that last night about hiding behind Raleigh. But the city of Durham, 50 minutes up the road, did something that council apparently could have done. And they could make more than just what Commissioner Wright-Pone was talking about in regards to fees. It was also what we discussed in our training, as they can't rent with their penalties. They can't rent until they fix the issues. They can't offer housing until they attack the problems of their rental communities. So I would suggest, because we may not get anywhere with this current council, but when the new council comes in December, I hope that that is a conversation that we can have with them to explore the option of potentially seeing what can be done in Greensboro that benefits Greensboro residents with something that might be in tandem to what the city of Durham has already passed 2 weeks ago in its law. I didn't know if anybody on the commission saw that on election night, but I definitely did. And it goes back to, the conversation about tenant rights. I had asked this question with the former city attorney's office on, with other states, they have the ability of unionizing as renters. Could that be something that's done here in the state of North Carolina? And I was told, no, they can't. But the city of Durham just told us they could. Now, maybe it gets challenged in the courts, who knows, on whether that's actually legal or not in North Carolina. But I think this goes back to the whole resolution letter that we sent, that we got dismissed on, of we just want our council to show us that they support the city and support its residents, in hoping that we can reel in some of the rental concerns that we have here in the city. So I think this is a great thing to explore. I hope the city attorney's office explores this law that was just done by city council in Durham to see what can be done here in Greensboro. Yes, sir.
Staying true to my previous comment that I'm not going to get out in front of any advice that may be given to council. The city attorney's office in Durham prepared a memo in regard to that ordinance amendment. There's some, I'll say, ambiguities as to whether state law might preempt some provisions, and I'll I'll leave it at that, but I hear you again.
Thank you. That's all the items that I had, and it was important to me to get it on the record. Again, I'm not somebody who likes to hide behind things. I want to have the conversations out in the open, so that people get the answers out in the open, because that's compliance. So for me, it's important that we have these types of conversations and discussions here in this forum, so that it doesn't give any type of optic or appearance of something different. So I hope that this commission understands that. Again, we are here to better the city with safe, affordable housing, minimum standards. And as we navigate our new powers and potentially what might be added to in the future, I hope that we still keep that in mind, that just like city staff and just like council, we also serve the city. Are there any other comments?
Okay, thank you for bringing them out.
Thank you.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I feel it not only a responsibility, but a duty to support your remarks and echo them, Chair, not only from a place of being vice chair and serving on this commission, not only as a commissioner that was appointed to this commission, but a duty to our residents who see the necessity of such transparency, who see the necessity of such duty when so many bear the burden of so few. It is both important and necessary to have it out there, to have it spoken, not behind closed doors in work sessions and the like, but in out in open spaces and on the public record. Because it's not just a if you know sort of thing. It's not just about, well, you gotta know somebody or you gotta be somebody. This affects everyone in the city, not just a few, not just a handful. And at the end of the day, if residents could see this, know this, and hear this, perhaps there would be a lesser or diminished public distrust of elected officials. Because by and large, one thing that was demonstrated by the primary that took place here in Greensboro, almost 90% of registered voters didn't vote. That's not a that's a message. And it speaks loud and clear about how our residents perceive our elected officials, specifically locally elected officials and governance as it takes place here in the city of Greensboro. But I digress. Chair, I support your statements, your concerns, and voiced thoughts.
Thank you. Appreciate those sentiments. Yes, Commissioner.
I just have one thing to say, which isn't totally directed, but also directed to what we're talking about. I want on record to just change my vote, which isn't going to have anything to do with what the decision is that's been made, but regarding the time. I'm changing mine from yea to nay. And I just want to do it on record.
On the
Time change. And it doesn't change what, what the decision is, but I just want to change it.
Okay,
Okay.
that's 5-2. Are there any other commissioner comments, reflections, thoughts? Look like you're thinking, Commissioner Jones. All right, seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes. Make a motion to I don't want to forego Commissioner Seifert. Proceed. Second.
That was motion and properly second. All in favor? Aye. I think that passes unanimously. That will end today's meeting.